We're going to just work with a common used method called mental noting right now. And what that's going to do, once you've now been grounded in your body and your breathing, you're going to make note of thoughts that come up, of emotions that come up. So you don't even have to necessarily label what the thought is. It could just be thought. Emotion, it's helpful to actually sort of connect with what the emotion may be. Maybe it's ease, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's fear, maybe a worry passes through. And then sensations in the body, also helpful, because often those thoughts and emotions are translating into an area of the body. So it's another way to make sure it's not getting stuck in us. So if it's a feeling of apprehension or fear, I notice fear, and then I check in with my body. Where is it being held? I check in with my mind and perhaps investigate where that thought has connected to that emotion, or if there is a thought connected to it. So I'm going to give you just a couple minutes to practice that. And the whole idea is that you're strengthening that muscle of being your own internal wise observer, so that one of the meditation teachers I was listening to earlier today was saying we need to practice some social distancing with our emotions. So it's this idea of just getting a little space, and the mental noting is helpful. So I'll let you be with that now. And now softly come back to your breath. And in this heart open space, breathe in and out of the heart. And if you feel your heart needs more support and your hand is able to go there, you might rest your right hand across your heart. So you can feel that movement of breath in and out of the heart. And just knowing right here, right now, you are safe. And in that heart space, if you have a specific intention, take a moment to be with that now. And then let your arm rest at your side again if it was resting on the hand on the heart. And as you breathe in, wiggle the fingers and the toes, and let your head gently sway if that's okay for you over the cushion. So as your head then comes back, we're going to do the shoulder moves first, then we'll do a stretch out after. So just bring the arms straight up toward the ceiling. And as you're reaching toward the sky, feel the arm bones lift a little bit from the sockets. And then exhale, root back down toward the surface beneath you. Inhale, reaching up. And exhale, gliding down. Continue that motion back and forth. Inhaling, reaching. And exhale, threading the arm bone in. And the next time that you bring the shoulders down, just make sure they don't feel jammed. Bend the elbows and take hold of the forearms. And then lower the elbows and forearms toward the ribs and the belly. Inhale back up toward the ceiling and exhale overhead. And you stop where you need to. So I'm going to hang on more at the forearms than the elbows. Might be the forehead, might be all the way overhead. Inhaling, transition back up. Exhale, back down toward the abdomen. Inhale, transitioning. Exhale, overhead. Move in timing with the breath. And again, just immersing yourself in the mindful connection to movement. We can practice that mindfulness technique of mental noting in the active way. So if you find your mind wandering a lot, then just let your gentle whisper of a voice inside say, arms inhaling up, arms exhaling down. So it could be something like that. It's sort of like the journalist narrating what's happening, or the sportscaster describing what's happening. And it's a technique to get the mind really connected to what you're doing if you find yourself wandering. So next time that you're up right over the chest, pause there, and then go side to side. And there you may want to shore up the hands to the elbows more. Feel the outer arms warming and stretching a bit. When you go over to the right, you're going to circle down toward the belly and inhale up the left side and exhale down toward the belly. And that might be hanging on near the elbows or further down close to the wrists. See what feels better. Inhaling up, ride the movement of the breath. Exhale down. And the next time your arms come down toward the belly, flip the forearms. So you just switch, other one on top. We're going to bring the elbows right up over the chest again and go back to the side motion while the shoulder blades stay fairly grounded on the blanket or cushion beneath you. Good. When your arms now lean to the left, pause there. Circle down toward the abdomen. Inhale up through the right side. Exhale down the left side. Again, adjust the hand position if it's more helpful for your shoulders. Hang on near the wrists. And when the arms are up overhead again, pause. Secure the arm bones. Feel safe in the shoulders. Might be more over the forehead than haloing the head. And now move the breath from the center of your chest out to the side ribs, as if your heart and the lungs could just widen out and expand laterally. And next inhale, elbows up toward the ceiling, exhale toward the belly, release the hands, and we'll roll off of the support you have beneath you, which is some form of chest opener for most of you. So we move that cushion out. If you have the extra blanket, you can move that out as well. And then come back down onto your back once you have that taken care of. So once we're back down on the ground, if your back is cool with you lengthening the legs out, go ahead and do that. Extend the arms up overhead. Spread the fingers, spread the toes. Begin to point and flex through hands and feet. Open and close the jaw. Maybe a yawn. Work into the face. Remember our 40 plus muscles there. Start to stretch into them. Scrunch the eyes tight. Lift the eyebrows high. Roll the shape of the mouth around the teeth. Interlace your hands if they are good with that. Push the palms away. As you point the toes, arc and lean side to side. So as you lean right, point a little more through the left toes. Lean left, a little more through the right toes. And just explore that. So now you have the idea of what you're doing. Now really make it yours. So let it feel good. Sort of luxuriate in the stretch, in the movement. And as you return to center, bend the elbows, release your arms out and down. Go ahead and bend into the knees. Let the back rest a moment. When you're ready, walk one knee in, followed by the other knee. And we'll plant the hands on the knees and we'll start those opposite moving circles. So they separate out and they mirror each other and then they come back and around. This too, you have a spectrum of choice on, so it might be small circles to avoid any discomfort in the hips or low back or sacrum. It might feel good to explore more of a full range. Big toes can touch the whole time, or you might let them separate some, see what feels best. The low back may be tipping back and forth like mine is, or it might stay more still if you're in a smaller hip range. Slow it down and then reverse it. Go the other way. Circle apart again and come back together. And so the tension and the emotion that we know that can get stuck in the hips, we're just starting to invite that area to move, to lubricate the joint itself, get the synovial fluid going, to get the connection between pelvis and low back starting to feel healthy and safe in its movement. All right, and then when you come back to center, let's bring the legs and arms up. You can keep the elbows bent, knees bent a little bit, and shake and wobble the limbs. Yeah, so this is feels kind of like a silly one, but it's great for the fascia to help reduce the tight patterns. And we really need to communicate with the fascia in order to get the muscles or the vessels or anything else that the fascia surrounds to respond. So it's a good shakeout. And then if you're able, keep your limbs up, and you may need to lower the feet, that's okay. But if you keep them up, do so, and rotate the hands and feet. So you're really reaching out, tips of the toes, tips of the fingers. You might have some crackling in there. And then pause and go the other way. And even mindfully doing this, instead of just kind of quickly doing it, becomes more of a strengthener, a stabilizer, while you're also mobilizing these joints. Good. I know I get tired from just doing this. I can feel it. And then shake it all out again. Awesome. All right, so our silly little hip and shoulder opener, I'm going to show this from this angle where we bend the elbows and the knees out. This is a rotational move that initiates at the hip joint and the shoulder joint, and then you turn the knees in and you turn the elbows in. And so this is the initiating of truer hip opening, truer shoulder opening. It's how I have us heel toe together from standing poses. And this is obviously a non-weight bearing version, so you can start to get those hip joints and the internal external rotators to work. And it's different than abducting and adducting. So it's definitely a rotation, and it does not have to be a big movement. All right, very good. So that initiates our standing poses, happy baby, wide leg forward bends, pretty much anything that involves Sukhi Randrasana, eye of the needle, hip opening. It should be happening from those muscles. All right, very good. And then shake it out again. And bend the knees and set one foot down at a time. I'll come back around again. Okay. So from there, just settle for a moment. Full breath in, exhale out a sigh. Just kind of notice how it feels. Get that blood flow back to the toes, back to the fingers. Getting some variety in our body. And then pick a leg, bring a leg in, and give it a nice massage. So just warming up. If you can even reach the foot, nice to get the foot in there. Some of those long fascial lines from the big toe affect all the way up to the forehead. And then the bony sides of the leg, just rub into them, the knee as well. Those tissues appreciate that. And then you can get into the muscles with a little more depth. All right, once you're done with that leg, set it down, and then give the other leg the same full attention. Maybe the foot too, a little appreciation for your wonderful legs and feet. Good. All right, and then bend that knee, set that foot down, and find your yoga bell or your whatever you're using as an extender to help you reach the foot. So we're going to start with right leg. So right leg steps up. I have, over the years, have switched to more of an arch position myself. Some people still like ball the foot. Just make sure you're not squishing together your toes. And some people like more near the saddle of the heel. So see what feels best. If your extender here is long enough, slide your elbows down. I understand if it isn't, you might have to have your hands up. But either way, we want to broaden the shoulders and lengthen the neck so you feel really quite calm in the upper body. The ribs, they soften. And the left foot moves out 8 to 12 inches. You snuggle it in so it stays level. Notice if the knee tips out to the side. Keep it straight up. And soften that inner groin. And then the grip of the hands, just enough. Now press up through the foot and spread your toes. It does not have to be a straight leg. And we're going to deep bend the knee on the in-breath while your pelvis stays steady and quiet. Your low back curve is natural. Exhale into a bent leg position. So it looks about like that. And my pelvis is going to stay really quiet as I deep bend. Inhale. Exhale. So you can see there's very little movement in the thigh bone as I do that. It's really happening from the knee hinge. And the pelvis is super stable, like it's magnetized to the floor. Very good. Toes spread out. Taking your time. Breathing easy. Even just close your eyes. And focus on the in-breath as the leg bends, the sensation, the out-breath as your leg extends. Creating a nice pump for the veins and the lymph as we sort of mimic a hiking move or a deep running move, actually, with as deep of a bend. And then extending the leg back up and the added bonus of gravity working for us differently. Okay, so before we finish this one, I'm going to change my angle and show you. We've done this before, but you may be new to it or you haven't done it for a while. So keep that micro bend position and slightly rotate the leg just like you did earlier with the bowed knees and the knock knee. And see if you can keep that position in the right leg, lower the heel toward the center, and lift the heel again. So it's just this little tweak on the angle. It's external rotation, more of a hip opener. So you'll notice what happens with that is some different muscles start to wake up. For me, I can feel more in the biceps femoris, the larger hamstring, but I can also feel more from the opening of the thigh right along that inner groin line. Gracilis muscle and probably sartorius a little bit. And just notice how that feels for you. So it's kind of an interesting move. Just warming up different muscles, different angles. And then when you bend again, bring the leg back to its first position. And you can start to extend the leg up to your bent leg position. So from that bent leg position, you can be in it. You can see how that feels for you. I'm going to turn again. And you'll know, at least I notice, I feel plenty of stretch on the back of the leg. I can feel it in the calf, the ankle, the Achilles, all the way down into the meat of the hamstring. I don't get a lot down at the sits bone, which is actually a good thing. It's not pulling on the attachment. And I can keep my low back natural curve and my sacrum happy. So what I'm trying to say is this might be your max stretch. Even if you can go straight, that might serve your back better. So if you want to stick with that, do, and you can deep bend and come back to that nice extension with a little bend to the knee. If you love going all the way straight, your low back can feel great with it. You're going to push the heel out and up and go more toward a perpendicular straight up and down. Now for me, it's just a little too much pull at the back of the knee and the sits bone. So I'm going to stick with that variation. This is upon recommendation actually from Donna Fari's work in protecting the SI joint. So I've been shifting that for myself because I have some SI joint issues through the years. So then the other option that most of us are familiar with, if you want to inchworm that left leg out, go for it. So then it becomes another kind of hip opening and lengthening through the left psoas. So just think about the left thigh and knee pointing toward the ceiling. And it might be the big toe pointing straight up. It just depends on the angle of your tibia bone. And then when you're ready, deep bend, inhale, exhale, come back to your stretch. Good. Once you got the hang of all that, you can again close your eyes, make it more of an internal experience. And just breathing easy. Couple more breaths. So then a little bend to the knee, push the right foot into the belt, carefully flatten your left foot. We're going to do one more before we switch sides. So I'm mirroring you again with this angle to see what I'm doing. You're going to bring the belts into the right hand, your left hand on your belly, the left knee is now bent, foot flat, and this is that simultaneous opening and crisscrossing. So rotate externally with the right leg, so the leg rotates out a little bit. You can see my toes tip out. And then open the legs away from one another. Then inhale, back to center. The left knee crosses slightly, if possible, behind the right leg. My right leg stays in that nice trajectory, so I'm not doing that with my ankle and knee. So be conscious of that. And then inhale, transition. Exhale, open to a comfortable, strong place. Inhale, transition. Exhale, across. So this becomes much more therapeutic for the sacrum, low back, and those ligaments being strengthened when we can keep the pelvis quite still here. So you have this great core support. Very subtle, natural low back curve. Pelvis is quiet. Your hips are rotating out and then across, adducting, inside a very neutral pelvis. So moving with your breath. And moving with the concepts of functional movement, of really this different take on what hip opening is about. Is it this stabilizing work that, yes, creates maybe a little more distance in how long the muscles are, but it's strength-based, so you're actually really in good command of the movement, that this is kind of, I think, the hip opening of the future, so that the ball joint's really protected, and we're working more with mobility than just pure flexibility. When you come back up, pause, and you can put a belt in each hand if you'd like, and slightly bend that right knee if it isn't, push into the belt, and we're going to switch legs. So we're going to step that left foot up, bend the right knee, set the right foot down. I'm going to change angles again. So here we are again, starting side two. So it's left leg up, spread the toes. The right knee is bent, the right foot's well grounded, and you snuggle in the pelvis and you relax and lengthen the neck. You might adjust that, shoulders broad, grip of the hands just enough, deep bend the knee, and then move back into that micro bend or bent leg position. Deep bend, inhale, Exhale, come back to it. Good. And all the while, the principle of creating a lot of support and stability in the deep center of your body through the pelvis is what makes this so much more therapeutic than just an everyday hamstring move. This last week and a half, I've been talking in my classes a little bit about the lower chakras as well. So the root chakra and the second and third chakra having to do with feeling grounded, feeling safe, feeling connected to your own good knowing, your own will. And this is a nice way of connecting to that, because floor poses and seated poses already do that. But you're stabilizing it so nicely that you're really waking up the support at the pelvic floor, the support at the pubic bone and navel. But there's no bracing, so just be sure you're not like sucking the navel back or anything. It's not that. Okay, so a couple more of these. Lowering, pausing, lifting, lowering again, pausing and lifting. So I'll give that second view for our little angled out. So basically, with your leg up at the bent leg position, rotate slightly out to the left, lower the heel toward the pubic bone, lift the heel. And just see where you're feeling it. For me, I definitely have a targeted area. It's accessing the outer hamstring. It's accessing some of the inner thigh muscles and the groin in order to rotate. And even though there's a little more weight out to the left, try to keep the pelvis centered. Good work. All right, so from that little angle, you're going to bend the heel down again, knee deep, rotate the leg neutral, and then come back to that bent leg position. And you're just going to pause there and see how that feels for you. Can you keep the pelvis level? The low back curve is subtle, but it's there. It's not squished to the floor. The chest is broad, the neck is long. That could be your awesome hamstring position right there. And if you feel like, nope, I want to go with the straight leg, you're going to bend, push the heel out and up to kind of create a little scooping position, and just see how that translates on the back of that left leg all the way up into the tissues of the low back. Good. And then you can bend as needed on your own there, and you can go with the stretch I'm choosing with a slight bend of the leg, or you can go back to the straighter leg. And then finally, you can inchworm the right leg out if that serves you. So if you can really lengthen the leg out and there's no negative effect along the rest of the chain, then I'd say you're good. You rotate the knee and the thigh toward the ceiling, and you deep bend the left leg as needed. Good. Continue, nice full breaths. Eyes closed, just letting the patience and presence of the movement and your breath wash through you. And the next time that your leg is up, bring a little bend to it if there isn't already. Push the left foot into the belt and use that leverage to flatten your right foot. Now we'll go into that simultaneous sort of crisscross. Bring the belts into the left hand, right hand on the belly, just helping to center the lower body and pelvis. Spread your toes out. Rotate the left leg slightly out to the left from the hip joint, the knee and the toes. And start to exhale, opening the legs away from one another, a comfortable distance. Inhale back to center. The left leg will come out of its slight rotation. And exhale, a slight cross toward an X, if that works for your body. Inhale, transition. Exhale, open. Inhale, transition. Exhale, toward a crossover. And feel that great support and strength through the lower body. Recognizing that it is your thigh bone that comes up and becomes your ball joint of your hip, that those are functionally moving inside the pelvis. And you're getting that sensation of lengthening and contracting the inner and outer thighs. A few more if you can. Always rest early if needed. And when you come back up to center, pause. Bend the knee enough to remove the belt. Let's set those aside. And then bring the legs and arms up again and just give them that shake out. Good. And when you're ready, bend the knees, plant the hands on the knees, and circle same direction. And just a nice weighted feeling to that circle around the SI joint. Noticing any rough areas there, you might go back and forth over them a couple times and then continue the circle. Then pause and reverse it, drawing a heavy line as you cross over the bones and the connection of tissues where the spine connects to the pelvis. And again, if you have a little rough patch or a little sore area, just iron it out. Go back and forth 2 or 3 times, heavy, relaxed, and then continue that second direction circle. All right. And when you're ready, roll to one side. If right side works, go that way. Tuck your arm or your hand underneath your head. Breathe into your back. Another breath. And then top hand presses. Head can start to bow. Press yourself up from the side. And the knees on some appropriate padding there for you. Right underneath the hip sockets as you arrive in your tabletop. The toes point straight back if that's okay on your feet. Fingers splay out. Base palms underneath front shoulders. On the in-breath, tip your tail down and let that move through the breath on your exhale, letting the head hang last. On the in-breath, tip the tail up. Slowly move through the spine as you exhale. Open the heart without cranking the neck too far out. Just keep it long. Inhale, initiate at the tail. Exhale, roll through the vertebra. A nice congruent movement through the different sections of the vertebra. So the pelvis and sacrum, how it connects to the low back, how the low back transitions to the mid and upper back, and how the upper back talks to the neck, and even the tip top of the skull, thinking of that as one of the extra vertebrae. Move easily. And think about the energy moving with this movement that you've probably done hundreds of times in your yoga life. But getting those energy centers that the yogis talk about getting stuck when we're under especially high amounts of stress, or we have some physical pains going on, that as you're moving this, you're activating the energy, the kundalini at the base of the spine. You're rolling it up, not just to the third eye, but up to the crown. And then you're rolling it back down again. So just this beautiful interplay of muscles and bones and nerves and blood flow, spinal fluid, and yes, energy. So cat-cow may be your go-to, and if you're staying off the wrists or aren't wanting to do dolphin pose today, another option would be puppy pose, which I'll show right now. Toes could curl under, hands could walk out, you lean back slightly. That might be done on the forearms as well, or flat hands. But if you are interested in going in dog today, you're going to walk your hands a handprint forward. It's like a new print in the sand. And we'll hug the arms in, little tone to the pit of the belly. On the in-breath, lift the hips up and slowly pull the pelvis up and back. So you get that really high, long feeling without jamming the shoulders. If the shoulders feel a little tight, just shift forward, kind of a plank dog. Bend your knees again, and try to imagine something else pulling your pelvis up. So it's not your hands pressing that makes that happen. And then the head elongates either in line with the arms or slightly above. Take your legs for a walk if you haven't already, so bend one knee at a time. Really nice lines there. Poses look great. Roll to the top side of one foot, and then the other. Nice and easy on that. Can help eventually get us out of the tendency to toe cramp, but it might induce it if you're too harsh on it. And then see if it feels good to bend your right knee and twist and look a little bit left, maybe under the arm, and then bend your left knee, twist a little bit, look right under the right arm, and see how that feels. And then finally, up on the balls of the feet, clothesline, rest if you need to, grow the neck long, little tortoise coming out of the shell. Keep that Goldilocks spot in the shoulders so they do not feel jammed. You feel this spaciousness around the shoulder joint so it's not jammed in and it's not squeezed around too far. I'll show that a little visual from the front. So it's not overly rolled out. It's not sucked up against your neck or ears. The armpits are lifted. It's better to do that when you're a little forward. And then just let them glide into that more functional space. Another couple breaths if you still are good in the pose. And when you are ready to, make your way to pose of the child for a little rest. Coming down on the knees, resting back. And you can rest all the way back toward the heels. You can rest your head on your hands or in the blanket. You could have your more of your weight forward and take pressure off the knees and ankles. And let's practice our back breathing. So just let your wings wrap around you as you breathe. Your back kind of puffs up. The exhale softens you. Breathe in your back. It's a good reminder that this is an excellent way of breathing to stabilize our nervous system, to help quiet the mind. And we can really access that breath in so many of our poses as well. All right, on the inhale, come back up. And I'm going to show this one facing you guys. And this will be side puppy. So this is great for getting in the side stretch of the body. So what you're going to do is you're going to shift your feet a little bit to the right, and you're going to walk your hands slightly over to the left, okay? And then you're going to come down on your left forearm, rest your forehead on the arm if you can, and spider walk your right hand straight overhead. So you keep the shoulder connected and safe. If being flat hand or finger pad is uncomfortable, lower your elbow down and bring it in close enough that your shoulder feels safe. You don't have to exaggerate this to get something out of the side stretch. And then breathe into that right side of the body. Okay? Everyone still hear me? Are we okay? Okay, very good. So another couple breaths into the right side. So you feel a lot of that length from the right hand back through the right hip. And then slide that right hand back in. Press yourself up slowly. It can be a little disorienting. Come back to center tabletop. Exhale, round into cat. And inhale, arch into cow. And then come back to neutral. We'll shift the feet slightly over to the left. Walk our hands slightly to the right. So you're just creating now this diagonal line. And you're going to walk down with your right forearm, your forehead, if it can rest on it. You might also make a fist. That would make it a little higher for you. You could rest your forehead on the turned fist. And then your left arm reaches overhead, almost like you're going to ask a question and you're reaching up overhead. You could be on finger pads, flat hand, or elbow down. And then really you don't have to pull a lot. I used to do more isometrics with this where I grab the floor with the left hand and lean back through the left hip. But you don't have to add that much. If you just add the breath, it's going to do its magic. So let the breath, it'll expand into the left flank more. It'll take into the left lung more. And then as you exhale, feel the length naturally happen as you elongate. Good. And if you can't have your head down in this, you could do an option that's much more lifted with the head. So I'll just show that now. Or even if you're in tabletop, you could just reach your left arm out more and breathe into it. And the whole purpose is to get the side bodies, the lats, the ribs more open, our breath capacity more open. Okay, another full breath. And slide that left hand back in safely. Inhale, press yourself up. Make your way back to center. I'm going to turn sideways again. And as you're at center, go through your cat-cow. And come back to neutral. Okay, so we're going to transfer to our chair pose. So walk your hands back. Lift your knees with toes curled. Walk yourself back so you can place your hands up on the knees. And find that chair position. So I'll move in a little bit closer. So hands on the legs, buttocks leaning back so you get that nice long line. Tip the chin slightly down, tip the sternum down. There's a tone in the belly. So you can have quite a bit of weight in the hands here, or if it feels you're strong enough for it, feels good, you can lighten up the hands here. So your choice. You can also bring your arms back at your sides. That's the next phase. So we're probably feeling a lot in the quads, quite a bit in the buttocks and the hamstrings. The core is stable, so there's work going on all the way through this. A couple more breaths in chair. Utkatasana. And then pressing down, inhale, bring the arms forward. Exhale, open the heart. Inhale, back upright. And exhale, hands down to the heart. Excellent. So bend well. We know our hip hinging. So hip hinge to move your blanket out of the way. I'm going to adjust the screen slightly for standing. Okay, excellent. So from here, let's come into a wide stance. And you know what I mean by wide. It's still pretty moderate, so you don't have to go crazy with it. We want stability first. And we'll go into our warrior two. So, lift the left heel, spin the whole left leg and pelvis and spine a little bit inward. Set the heel down. Bend your right knee and spin the whole right leg out. The heel to heel alignment. I'm actually feeling a little wide in this, so I'm just gonna narrow it up some. Okay, so heel to heel alignment, toes spread out, feet grounded, bend that front knee. Feel your knee is well aligned, it's actually comfortable, so it's not just about how it looks. And that the connection between your front foot all the way across the bridge of the pelvis down through the back leg is good. In fact, take a look at your back leg and notice, we've talked about this before in classes, where the hip will tend to come forward and lean kind of in line with the toes. So while we do want to rotate the pelvis a little bit this way, we don't want the leg, show this, to be swinging like that. So you rotate it, but you keep the pillar of the leg aligned basically with the ankle so that you have that nice strong back line from your hip bone down to the front ankle, and see if that works for you. And then tone the pit of the belly, touch your shoulders, rotate your upper body open, lower body stayed rotated this way. It's a little twist. Reach the arms out, thumbs up, bend the elbows so you find that softening. Let's broaden the back. So we're gonna do that little qigong move, hug the air in front of you. And then see how it feels from there. Take your middle fingers to spin down. So it's that more traditional position with the hands. Make sure your fingers don't flip up, almost like they're hanging out in little clouds there. With the back of the neck long, look to the right. And it's kind of strange when you're hugging the air, your arms out in front of you. It's not in line with your gaze so much. But I want you to notice the space it's creating at your upper back, where we're holding a lot of that tension behind the heart up through the back of the neck. So we're trying to free that up. And a couple breaths here. Nice, full, easy breaths. Solid through the feet. Free and open, strong through the arms. This is more like the Tai Chi position or Qigong position. So you could be there a while is the idea. Instead of over-efforting, you're using your effort wisely. Keep the bend of the knee, tip back, and you can keep that arm kind of in the hug position. It doesn't have to be back in line with your shoulders. It can be a little forward. Push off that back thigh in triumphant warrior. Lift up out of the left ribs. Breathe. Gazing up, long neck. If that's unstable for you, you take your gaze toward the floor. Good. From triumphant warrior, Virabhadrasana, rise up. Bring both arms up. We're going to slowly move that leg straight, but not all the way straight. So if you go all the way straight, just put a little bend back in it. Shift the pelvis and the spine over that front leg. Bring the back of the hand to the inner thigh or inner knee. And again, think about hugging the air in front of you. So the shoulders broaden through the back and your arm moves slightly forward with a soft elbow. And the back of the neck long. All the natural alignment stuff's there. Football pants are on, sternum's tipped down, back of the neck long. Then you can choose your gaze. Maybe you want to look down, different muscles. Maybe toward the screen. Maybe looking up toward the thumb. Let the breath feed the back. So when we talked about back breathing, this is a great pose for that. Well done. Last one, bend the knee. Either set the hand on the leg, or if you're in a little wider stance and you can come down to your forearm, go for it. If you do want to go forearm, just make sure you're wide enough. So you need to widen out your stance a little, do that. Otherwise, the hand works. Swing the left arm down. Now we're just doing more of that side low back stretch. So we're going to breathe into the back. I'll show it from the forearm too. Breathe into the back. Exhale, reach through the fingers. Breathe into the back. Reach through the fingers. So it's like a wave of energy moving through you, through the spine. And if you're on the hand, it looks like this. Last one. Then swing the arm down in front of you when you're ready. Push off the front foot. Inhale, pull upright. Excellent. Hands to the pelvis. Remember, you're still in the pose. Bend the knee. Rotate the leg out safely. I'm pretty wide here, so I'm going to do one at a time here. So this is the move you did on the ground, the little bow-legged and knock-kneed. That's the practice. Now weight bearing. Shake it out. Okay, make sure you're ready to go. We'll go to side 2. Take your moderate stance for yourself. Bend the knees, hips back, butt back a little. Lift your right heel, spin that leg slightly in, and see the whole torso goes with that. That's your inner spiral. Bend the front knee, spin that left leg out, so it's from the hip joint, external rotation. Good. And then heel to heel alignment, toes spread out, plant those feet. Take a look at your back pillar of the leg. Just make sure that the pelvis hasn't swung forward over your toes. Move that energy back so your hip, knee, and front ankle align, and yet you still have that spiral. Okay, tone the pit of the belly, tip the sternum down, lengthen the neck, touch your shoulders. Here's our twist. Rotate from the upper body, good core strength. Pelvis stays this way, spine turns this way. Arms out, bend the elbows, get the shoulders in their carports, and then hug the air a little bit. I want you to feel a broadening in the upper shoulders, in the back. With the neck long, look to the left. And again, you'll no longer really be looking necessarily over your thumb. It's going to be forward of your gaze with this arm work. And breathe. Feel solid in both feet. Feel your own personal warrior energy coming in. What it is to be steadfast. What it is to be courageous and compassionate. All right, we're going triumphant warrior. Ujjayi Virabhadrasana. So backhand finds the thigh. Lift up and over of it, the right side kidney there. Neck long. And you can still keep that arm a little forward. So play with that. I kind of move mine back, and so I'm going to bring it forward again. And just notice the difference in the lat, in the upper back. Breathing in space. And then inhale, go towards straight, both arms coming up. Now, if your knee happens to lock straight, just micro bend it again. Shift the head and the pelvis as a unit. You can see from my head to my pubis bone, same line. Back of the hand at inner thigh if you're up higher, inner knee if you're in a little deeper. And then do the little hug the air motion. So your upper back broadens. You don't cave the chest, but it widens and protracts the shoulders slightly. And the elbows soft, and the head is long, and you choose your gaze. Down, we'll get different muscles from the top of the neck, down the shoulder blade to your sacrum. Straight on, we'll get more scalenes and sternocleidomastoid. Tipping the chin and turning, definitely sternocleidomastoid. That's your large neck muscle that helps turn the head. But do what actually feels like it's serving you today. I'm going to look down on this one. Another back breath, fill it up. Exhale, reaching out through the spine and the feet. And then bend that front knee, either hand to the leg, especially if you're in a little shorter stance, or forearm down to the leg, and you might even choose to go slightly wider. Swing the right arm down, and now you're in that bow position. So quadratus, through the lat, through the back muscles, different stretch sensation. Bring a wave of breath into your body, puff it up. Exhale, reach the arm out like the wave rolls out through the fingers. And breathe, puff it up. And exhale, reach it out. I'll show it on the hand position. Puff it up. Work with your breath. Exhale, reach. A couple more. Beautiful. Swing the arm down in front of you when you're ready. Push off that left foot. Inhale, pull to the right. Exhale, hands to the pelvis. Now, it's still another pose to get out of here. So rotate that leg as a unit. Hip joint starts to do the work. I know your feet are definitely participating, but get the hips to initiate. And then shake it out. Well done. Okay, so from here, I'll start with you face on, and then I'm going to show you sideways. You'll probably turn sideways on your mat for a warrior one, okay? So our right foot just stand toward the front of your mat, wherever you're at the side. So I'll start here. That'll make more sense for us. Right foot is going to stay forward. Tadasana position. Bend your knees and make sure your right hip and buttock strong. Step your left foot back once, maybe twice. And then I'll show that from a forward position. Once, maybe twice. Front knee bends, and that'll tell you if that calf Achilles is ready for that. So your pelvis is staying square on at the direction of the mat that you're with. And then if it's a little much, step it forward some. So you narrow up the stance. Inhale the arms up. And exhale, bend the elbows and sort of do that little hug the air move. Bring your elbows and arms a little forward. Broaden out the back. Broaden out the mid-back as well. And I'll show that from the side. Yeah, so instead of being here with it, I brought those arms more forward. My kidney areas more tuned in. Good. And then one more breath here, warrior one. And then rise up out of it. Exhale, hands to the pelvis. Bend that front knee, lean forward, pivot onto the back ball of the foot, and a light step up. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to show from the other side, the front of your mat. Left foot will stay forward, bend the knees a little bit, so already buttocks back a little. Step your right foot back once, maybe twice. The pelvis stayed square on, facing forward. Front knee bent, no pain along this joint path. And then inhale, arms up. Exhale, bend the elbows, widen the chest, bow a little so you kind of bring that energy of hug the cloud in front of you. And so we really widen out that back zone, back of the neck long, and breathe. A very natural alignment-based warrior one. I'll show it from this side. Very good. Couple more breaths. And then press down, inhale upright, exhale, hands to the pelvis. Lean your weight forward as you bend the knee and take the weight off the back foot so you can pivot, and then lean forward to bring it up. And then just shake it all out. Okay. So turn sideways on your mat again, facing me. And let's get in a forward. If you have blocks, you may want to grab them. You don't have to have them, but it's just a little forward bend, so it could be helpful. You could also use a chair and a bunch of other stuff around the house, ottoman. So take your feet out, again, moderate width. The blocks can be down, reachable in front of you. The thigh creases back, the legs strong, feet pressing, and a tone from the legs up to the pelvis. And then just practicing our hip hinge principle. As you bend the knees, immediately take the buttocks slightly back. Then slide the hands down the front of the legs as you exhale and find the blocks if that's not too far down for you. So the legs are still slightly bent here, and you're working on where's your natural alignment with your spine. So thigh creases hollowed, tone of the pit of the belly, sternum tips slightly down, back of the neck elongates, and the chin slightly tips down. And then from there, if it's feeling really good, you might walk the blocks out farther. I'm going to lower mine down one. And your spine will get almost more of a down dog or puppy pose position. Make sure you haven't narrowed the blocks or the hands too much so the shoulders still have their width. And you can have the knees bent, which I, again, am working with more, recognizing that I still get great length through my legs, but I take the pressure off the low back and sacrum. If you want to straighten, just notice how that translates into your low back. Breathe into the back, Prasarita Padottanasana. This is the extended version, so we add Uttita to the front of that. And that back breathing is really helpful. I'm going to show this angle from the side. So a pose really comes alive. I remember just learning that in my first year or two of teaching with Rama Yokti Vernon, and she's such an amazing yogi, and wow, can she breathe. So she taught me a lot about how much more alive with prana and energy and flow, muscular release, all the things we're hoping to get from yoga increases like tenfold, if not more, when you breathe through the pose, when you allow malleability as you breathe into the back, it almost becomes a different pose than if we were just statically holding it. All right, on your in-breath, with bent knees, walk your blocks back in if you've walked them out. Narrow the feet slightly so you're not quite so wide. Walk up to the thighs. Pause there. So we're going to make sure we're not dizzy. And then pressing into your feet. Think of your hip hinge action. So your head lifts as your pelvis moves forward. And then you heel toe, your old heel toe together. Okay, and then shake out those legs. Well done. All right. So if you want to, if you have blocks and you happen to have a bolster too, you could set that up in a Shavasana position if you want to try this. So we will grab a blanket to lie down on. You can grab a second blanket or little throw pillow for your head if you like that. So you could also use a throw pillow, a couple throw pillows here. But if you happen to have two blocks and a bolster, this is the one where you put the blocks side by side. And your angle of your cushion is just kind of at the end tip of that. If you go too high up, your legs will go on it and it'll do that. So if you want to angle it out some, then your buttocks sit right here and your thighs and buttocks are right up against this. Your butt's down on the blanket and your legs are really nicely supported there for Shavasana. So if you're trying that one, you can also go legs up the wall or just traditional Shavasana or seated meditation. All those are great. But if you're trying this one, this is kind of how close you get to that cushion. You can see my head's going to be on the floor, so I'm going to scoot it out a little. And then you just adjust so you really feel held on the whole backside of the thigh. And then your arms can be at your sides, or if you feel like you want a little more self-comfort, your hands can be on your body. Just in that nice, soft voice that you were using earlier for mental noting, just welcome yourself to Shavasana. Feeling the safety of this place after having fully participated in your yoga. Now let yourself soak it up, really receive the deep benefits of practice. Eyes closed, forehead relaxes. Swallow to release your throat, rest the tongue, and part the teeth. Feel the neck and shoulders cascading down through the arms and the fingers, heavy. Giving yourself permission to let go. In the heart space, supported, open and compassionate, but also feeling held, so it too can find healing. Soften the belly and its contents. Relax deeply into the bowl of the pelvis. Tension in the hips and buttocks, just being carried down like streams through the legs, down off the toes and the soles of your feet. Feel your breath, subtle, calm, breathing you. And rest. softness. Remain at ease. Feel that connection to your body, connection to the earth beneath you, and the air and the sky above you. Let your awareness travel through the sensations present in the body. And from that rooted station, check in with the quality of mind, emotion, and the energy that you're made of. Connect to that energy through the breath. Invite it to expand. And breathe space into every cell of your body. We can become more free, more resilient, more able to love and be loved through our yoga. So let that space be with you. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Sway the head. Stretch out if you have the impulse to move. You can lengthen your arms. Breathe in, maybe another yawn. And bringing your arms back, bend into your knees. Give yourself a hug there, let them widen. Rock gently. Appreciate this relationship that you work on with yourself. Then roll to one side for another breath. On the inhale, make your way up to your seat. We bring our hands to join together in Anjali Mudra. We bow toward that inner light that we have broadened and strengthened through our practices together, knowing that our hearts are connected. All we can do is accept each new moment, each new development and decision, and make the most of this life, sending love out to the world along the way. Love to each of you as we bow and say Namaste, Namaste.